Hello, welcome to Tundra Books' virtual presentation, The Art of Story. We're so glad you dropped by. I'm going to take you through just a selection of some of our upcoming and newly released picture books to give you a sense of our list. We've divided today's titles into 6 thematic categories: Girls in STEM, Social Emotional Learning, Diversify Your Shelf, Celebrate the Earth, and Modern Fairy Tales. Our books feature creators from all over the world and are sold across North America. If you are an American educator or librarian, you can order our books from your Random House Children's Book rep or wholesaler of your choice. But first, an introduction. My name is Vikki VanSickle, and I am the Director of Marketing and Publicity at Penguin Random House Canada Young Readers, home of Tundra Books. In addition to working with all of these amazing creators, I'm the author of a number of books, including the Tundra picture books, If I Had a Griffin, Teddy Bear of the Year, and Anonymous. I eat, sleep, and breathe children's books, and I can't wait to share some of these gorgeous and noteworthy titles. I'm going to go off camera so you can focus on your attention on the art on the slide. Our first category is Girls in STEM, and our first title is This is Ruby by Sarah O'Leary and Delia Marley. Ruby loves to make things, watch things grow, and figure out how things work. And Ruby has lots of ideas about what she wants to be. Maybe an animal conservationist, or an archaeologist, or maybe an inventor. She's already invented a book with smells instead of words, so dogs can read it. This is a joyful book about a girl with a big imagination and is perfect for fans of The Most Magnificent Thing, Rosie Revere, Engineer, and the companion book, This is Sadie, also written by Sarah O'Leary. This is Ruby is a great springboard for conversation about the scientific process, inventing, design, exploring, and curiosity. Ruby has a limitless imagination and considers a range of STEM-related careers. Illustrator Aaliyah Marley draws on her own heritage and experiences growing up in the Barbados to create a vibrant Caribbean-inspired setting and an unforgettable Black heroine in Ruby. It is important for girls to see themselves reflected in traditionally male-dominated spaces, like STEM, and even more so for girls of color to have a mirror like Ruby to help stoke those dreams. In our next Girls in STEM title, ETTY Darwin and her famous father go for a walk to ponder life, science, and fairies. ETTY loves make-believe. Her dad loves science. ETTY believes in fairies. Her dad would need to see some proof that they exist. This is a lovely father-daughter story and a gorgeous rumination on belief and imagination featuring Henrietta, aka ETTY, Darwin, and her famous father, Charles. The real-life ETTY went on to become a valued and keen editor of Charles Darwin's work and a thoughtful and intellectual person in her own right. This imagined conversation between ETTY and Charles as they stroll around Charles' real-life thinking track explores their close relationship and shows that even science is nothing without an open mind and imagination. On to our next category, Social and Emotional Learning. Our first social emotional learning title is all about self-confidence. In Esme Shapiro's book, Carol and the Pickle-Toad, people wear all kinds of hats. Not everyone wears a toad as a hat, but some people do, and some of those toad hats can be very bossy. Carol has always followed the orders of her demanding toad hat at the expense of her own inner voice. But when her toad hat is plucked away by a pigeon, how will Carol know what to do? After spending so long being told what to eat and do and paint, Carol's not sure what she wants, and nothing feels quite right. Feeling lost, she creates a new hat, a toad made out of pickles and eggs, to help guide her. Even though her new pickle toad doesn't make a sound, Carol can hear it loud and clear. But when a pigeon takes away that hat too, Carol begins to understand that there's a big booming voice that lives inside herself and that it's well worth listening to. Carol and the Pickle-Toad is a springboard for conversations about self-confidence, finding your inner voice, standing up for yourself, and learning to love yourself. Esme Shapiro creates warm, wonderful worlds with her vibrant, folksy art and quirky, memorable characters. Her offbeat sense of humor creates a safe space to explore big feelings, in this case, self-doubt and learning to silence your inner critic. Personifying that inner critic as a bossy toad takes the sting out of self-doubt and provides a concrete analogy that will help kids recognize that the toad voice inside them that says they are too small or not smart enough can be defeated. Our next picture book about a caterpillar who decides to throw himself a party feels very timely, especially for those of us celebrating our second pandemic birthdays. Caterpillar is so bored, but everyone knows the best cure for boredom, an unforgettable party. He has everything he needs: apple juice, confetti, decorations, party hats, and star stickers to stick on your face. Everything is perfect except for one missing ingredient: friends. Unfortunately, none of Caterpillar's friends are available, so he comes up with an ingenious solution. Using a marker, he creates 6 new friends on himself. They dance, they play, they put on costumes, and even eat 7 feet of pizza. It's a marvelous time. This offbeat story celebrates imaginative play, offers a unique take on self-care, and fully embraces its weirdness. Our next 2 titles showcase voices and stories that are underrepresented in picture books. Diversify Your Shelves with On the Trapline by David A. Robertson and Julie Flett, a story celebrating Indigenous culture and the Swampy Cree language. A boy and Mosham, his grandpa, take a trip together to visit a place of great meaning to Mosham. A trapline is where people hunt and live off the land, and it was where Mosham grew up. As they embark on their northern journey, the child repeatedly asks his grandfather, "Is this your trapline?" Along the way, the boy finds himself imagining what life was like 2 generations ago, a life that appears to be both different from and similar to his life now. This is a heartfelt story about memory, imagination, and intergenerational connection that perfectly captures the experience of a young child's wonder as he is introduced to places and stories that hold meaning for his family. On the Trapline is a great tool to discuss Indigenous culture and history and the importance of familiar and intergenerational connections. Both author and illustrator have family members who worked on a trapline, and there is back matter to support this. Cree words are introduced throughout the text, making this an ideal book for classroom use. Out into the Big Wide Lake by Paul Harbridge and José Bissaillon centers a feisty protagonist with Down syndrome. It's Kate's first time visiting her grandparents on her own at their lakeside home. She helps her grandfather with his grocery deliveries by boat, where she meets all the neighbors. Her grandmother even teaches her to pilot the boat all by herself. When her grandfather takes ill suddenly, it's up to Kate. But can she really make all those deliveries? Based on the author's sister, Kate is a lovable, brave, smart, and feisty character with Down syndrome who will capture your heart in this gorgeous and moving story. Out into the Big Wide Lake is a great springboard for conversations about facing your fears and becoming independent, something all children can relate to. It also features a child with Down syndrome and a book that is not explicitly about disability. Kate's Down syndrome doesn't define her character, nor are her challenges defined by it either. Trying something for the first time, overcoming fear, and being given a level of responsibility are universal experiences. As the book's editor says, quote, "Having a Down syndrome character embody this freedom and universal experience felt important," end quote. Our next topic covers big ideas for little readers. One of the statements I've heard the most frequently during the pandemic is, "What is time?" It seems like our perceptions of time, patience, growth, and everything that comes along with these topics has been thrown for a loop. So, what is time? Beloved award-winning author-illustrator Julie Morstad has a beautiful, thoughtful take on this philosophical question. Time is a seed waiting to grow, a flower blooming, a sunbeam moving across the room. Time is slow, like a spider spinning her web, or fast, like a wave at the beach. Time is a wiggly tooth, or waiting for the school bell to ring, or reading a story, or 3. In this magical meditation on the nature of time, Julie Morstad shines a joyful light on a difficult-to-grasp concept for young readers and reminds older readers to see the wonders of our world, including children themselves, through the lens of time. Next up, we have the very cute, thought-provoking Thingamabob. In the beginning, the universe was one great big thing. Then that thing exploded into gobs and gobs of thingamabobs. All of the thingamabobs had a purpose, all except for one small, shapeless thingamabob. No one knew what it was for. It wasn't this or that. It wasn't here or there. What's the use of this thingamabob? Thingamabob is a story that explores identity, loneliness, and finding one's place in the world, all while promoting empathy and kindness. Mariana Copo, creator of Petra and Ray, has created another unique, adorable character kids will relate to. Like Carson Ellis or John Clausen, she has a distinctive style that appeals to both adults and children. Constellation of the Deep is the first of 2 picture books that celebrate the earth and nature. Fox loves nature and enjoys discovering strange and fascinating plants. One day, Seagull tells the 2 about an especially interesting underwater plant called the Constellation of the Deep. According to Seagull, it grows on the bottom of the ocean, but no one knows exactly where, and it glows in the dark. Before long, Fox sets off on an underwater quest to find this incredible plant. With spreads of informational content interspersed throughout, Constellation of the Deep details the wonders of the underwater world and celebrates observing the beauty of nature. Constellation of the Deep is a great springboard for conversations about sea life, biodiversity, conservation, climate change, and respecting the natural world. The art is spectacular and includes illustrated lists of plants and scuba gear for information-loving kids. STEM is shifting to include climate change and conservation, and this book is a love letter to the ocean. Our next book celebrates one of the most beloved insects of all time. Butterflies are beautiful and quiet and gentle and sparkly, but that's not the whole truth. Butterflies can be gross, and one butterfly in particular is here to let everyone know. Talking directly to the reader, a monarch butterfly reveals how its kind is so much more than what we think. Did you know some butterflies enjoy feasting on dead animals, rotten fruit, and even poop? Some butterflies are loud, like the cracker butterfly. Some are stinky. The smell scares predators away. This hilarious nonfiction book explores the science of butterflies and shows that these insects are not the stereotypically cutesy critters we often think they are. They are fascinating, disgusting, complicated, and amazing creatures. Author Rosemary Moscow is a science writer and a naturalist who makes books and comics that connect people to the natural world. Be sure to see Rosemary in action on the lunchtime keynote conversation at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time today. Our last theme is modern fairy tales. First up, Little Witch Hazel, A Year in the Forest, by Ezra Jack Keats winner Phoebe Wall. Little Witch Hazel is a tiny witch who lives in the forest, helping creatures big and small. She's a midwife, an intrepid explorer, a hard worker, and a kind friend. In this 4-season volume, Little Witch Hazel rescues an orphaned egg, goes sailing on a raft, solves the mystery of a haunted stump, and makes house calls to fellow forest dwellers. Little Witch Hazel is the cottagecore book of my dreams, a beautiful ode to nature, friendship, and the answer to the question, what book should I get that hip, witchy friend of mine? Phoebe Wall's love of nature and distinctive vibrant style brings to mind an American Tove Jansson, and this 96-page collection is a book earthy families will reach to all year long. Our next modern fairy tale is the whimsical picture book Gemma and the Giant Girl. A doll in an old forgotten dollhouse, Gemma wonders if she will ever grow up, but her parents tell her she will always be their little girl. Until one day the dollhouse is opened by a giant and Gemma's whole life changes. With a soft palette and its poignant themes of what it feels like to be small in a big world, Gemma and the Giant Girl is a story that evokes children's classics such as The Borrowers, Mary and the Mouse and Mary, and more. A great deal of people have turned to dollhouse making and decorating during the pandemic, and we think this modern classic will appeal to the kids and adults alike. I hope you enjoyed this little taste of the Tundra list. To see all of our titles, find themed listicles, and free downloadable activities, please visit us at tundrabooks.com or send us an email at youngreaders@penguinrandomhouse.com. Plus, keep the conversation going and come chat with us on social. Have a wonderful day.